David. I am a lieutenant with Columbus Division of Police. I am currently assigned to the aviation section. I am the unit commander. I find aviation intriguing. I was never an aviator until I came out here and they taught me everything I needed to know. I was actually surprised when I got trained and started doing all the functions and all the multitasking that the pilots and the tactical flight officers endure during a 2-hour patrol flight. Pilots are communicating with air traffic control from the airports, looking for other med flights, recreational helicopters, people flying drones, advertisement banners, anything that's in the air, and flying an aircraft, and communicating to their tactical flight officer. And the tactical flight officer is over there working the computers, talking to the radio personnel, talking to the officers on the ground, putting in addresses, giving descriptions, running the iPad, running the spotlight, running the camera. It's 2 hours of a lot of laborious activity up there, and you're pretty much mentally and physically exhausted when you come down.
What I was told a long time ago in the academy that a police officer, a street police officer, is the hardest job in America. But I will argue that a tactical flight officer is the toughest role as a police officer, which is the camera operator, radio, computer, mapping. You're doing all that up there. There's a command and control. It is very much a craft that you have to master, and it takes years to get to that level of experience and training.
My name's John Howard. I'm a police officer with the city of Columbus. I've been here coming up on 12 years with the division. I've been in the heliport since 2018, so coming up on 6 years. Currently work at the helicopter unit, so I'm helicopter day midwatch patrol officer. So a day in the life for us, we show up, we get the helicopter ready, so we do our pre-flight, we check our weather, check NOTAMs, and then we get ready to go out and patrol. We'll go up and fly an hour and a half to 2 hours, up to 2 times per shift. So for an 8-hour day, we may fly up to 4 hours. And then we'll just go out and patrol the city, listen to all 6 zones while we're flying around, and then just answer the highest priority calls, or just proactively police the city looking for anything that, looks out of the ordinary.
I've got, at this point, somewhere a little on the high side of 8,000 hours. That's quite a bit. A lot of that came because early in my career, when we'd have some kind of major turnovers and we were flying our full 16-hour-a-day flight schedule, there were several years when I got over 500 hours a year. Normally on day shift, and I've been day shift my entire career here, you would get approximately maybe 350 hours or so. Just like the officers on the streets, we use the helicopter like a cruiser. Basically, we're just on patrol. We're looking for anything that we can find. Other than that, we wait for the radio room to dispatch us on calls, just like a cruiser does. And a lot of our calls involve a lot of missing kids, missing elderly. The main thing for us is, can we help out? What can we do?
There's so much that goes on out here that people aren't aware of. My position here is the safety training officer. I am able to do patrol work like some of the other guys, but my specific functions are to train people, flying the helicopter, learning about the aircraft, learning about weather, learning about aerodynamics, all of the subjects required to get your license.
The process to join the aviation section is you have to be a sworn law enforcement officer first, and then you have to have a minimum of at least 3 years on the Division of Police. Typically, most jobs on the unit are seniority based. There are some units where there are exceptional qualifications. This is definitely one of them.
The first tier for exceptional would be just a private helicopter license through the FAA. Then the second tier is commercial pilot with a 500 hours of turbine time. So if you have that exceptional, then you would be ahead of anyone who just had their private or seniority.
I love being a law enforcement officer. My favorite part is using a helicopter to actually do my job. And then, helping the officers out on the ground, that's my biggest thing. I remember a foot chase when I was new, and you could hear the chopper coming, and hey, we're only 30 seconds away. Well, guess what? I think I got 30 seconds more in me.
In my patrol career, when I was a patrol officer, to have the helicopter above you was a tremendous resource. It was almost like the saving grace sometimes when you're down there by yourself or in a situation where you're just waiting on backup and that spotlight comes over you and you have a blanket, basically of protection.
Officer safety wise, this unit is awesome. There's a lot of times where we can spot things that officers on the ground can't see, or we can give them a heads up of something like someone coming around a corner on them that could be dangerous. And we can give them that heads up to give them the time to be proactive instead of reactive, right? If I say there's a guy with a gun walking around the building, now the officer can train themselves to that side of the building and be ready for it instead of being caught off guard. So there's a lot of times where we can head off an incident or prevent an officer from being in a worse situation than they would be and give them that heads up. When I was on the streets in foot chases, I was never more relieved on third shift than when the big spotlight hit me. You know what I mean? And that gave you a comfort, because when you're out there alone chasing somebody with a gun in an alley, it's a scary place to be, right? So when you have that light overhead and chopper has other officers coming to you, that's a great feeling. It's just nice knowing that this asset's here to help, other officers and the citizens.
Our response times to runs, calls for service, are phenomenal. The average is 2 minutes or less. We support patrol, we support SWAT, we support narcotics, we support all these other units. By using the helicopter as an observation platform, we can do the search of 20 officers on the ground with one aircraft, and we can do it faster.
The most memorable day on the job for me here at the aviation section is we were assigned by the missing persons unit to go look for a Ohio State University student female who had been missing. It was a pretty high profile case, and they wanted us to go check the last known places she was seen. They told us she was last wearing a black sweatshirt. And I saw something on the rocks a few hundred feet from where she was last seen, but it was a very treacherous area for officers to go on foot. They couldn't see it by land. The gravity of the situation, I said, I can't just let this one go. I have to send these guys down there to check this. This is just too close. And lo and behold, it was her sweatshirt and her sandals and her possessions. Unfortunately, the story doesn't have a good ending. They recovered her body later that week in the quarry. But without that piece, that aviation piece from the sky, it opened my eyes that we can see so much more from the sky than you can from the ground. And it would have been a long time before she was discovered, to put some closure to that case.
There was a call that came out for an elderly lady that went missing the night before around 11 o'clock, and it was cold that night, and I was on day shift, so they asked us to come up and see if we could find her. And we ended up finding her laying next to some railroad tracks. We were pretty sure she was deceased at that time. So we hovered the helicopter really low, thinking the noise and the downwash from the rotor blades would, if she's alive, she'll move, and she didn't move. So we circled the helicopter, a couple of times, trying to direct people into her, and she was in the fetal position. Finally, I don't know what happened, this strong woman just raised her arm, and we were like, yeah, we got her.
I will tell you, this unit, you do a lot of really good arrests. I've been a part of large drug seizures due to this unit, but the other ones, the ones that are most memorable, is helping people. We had some stranded kayakers that had overturned in a river, and it was down on the Scioto River. So the people were clinging to a tree, holding on to the tree, and they called from their cell phone, but they didn't know where they were at. So the river was kind of moving rapidly and violently due to a lot of rain, and they were inexperienced kayakers. So their kayaks were overturned and they were just holding on to these trees. So we flew up and down the river and were able to locate them. And then we talked to the local fire department and was able to guide their boat down to these people. So within 10 minutes of getting on scene, we were able to find these people that they had been looking for. So it's just really rewarding knowing that, you saved a life, or prevented someone from being out there and being exposed to the elements longer than they needed to be.
This was in February. It was kind of a nice day in February. Call went out that somebody on the Green Lawn Bridge called in and somebody had just fallen through the ice into the river. we're right there, decided, oh, let's go see what's going on. And sure enough, he was, up to his chest in a hole in the ice. And his color didn't look too good. So we decided, okay, we're gonna try and do this. Made a real quick plan, and we went a little south of there to a wide spot in the river. Did an approach down to where we were hovering over the river, got between him and the riverbank and hovered over, and he was able to grab onto the skid. Decided, okay, we'll give this a try. Picked him about halfway up and was going to try and slide him across the ice sheet towards the bank. There was no way we were going to get him all the way to the bank because they said it was flooded, the water was up in the tree line, so we'll just get him as close as we can get him. So we hauled him over until my relief TFO sitting there said, okay, we're underneath the trees here. I don't think we can go any farther. And we held him on the skids there until somebody could get there. Officers finally arrived on the bank. We were at that point probably not more than about 15 or 20 feet out. He let go of the skids and he could actually touch bottom there. He was basically up to his neck in the water, but he was trying to struggle his way out, and they pulled him out from there. And that was about as good as it gets for me, I guess.
My favorite part of this job is supervising a bunch of professional pilots and aviators that are tried and true, dedicated to their profession, and they're still police officers. They're just police officers in the sky. It's an honor and a privilege to be able to supervise these guys. Are professionals. They take a lot of pride in our equipment and who they represent, the citizens that they represent, and what they do on a daily basis, and safety.
And when you get in the aircraft and you've gone through the initial training, it is a very humbling experience to be put at that level of responsibility. And it's also something that, we're very proud of, to maintain that level of professionalism. And, I don't take it lightly of what we do out here. We're all very grateful and we're very proud to be able to do this, as a top tier professional aviation unit.